For the past 2 days, on the first cold start of the day, I'm getting this whistling sound, which I've heard in other videos and forum posts be described as a squealing sound. I think it's more on the side of whistling, but that's beyond the point. Is that this is another squealing sound, different than the one that was in the video where I inspected the other V50. And what's interesting is going to be this sound that I've detected. Is it the beginnings of the PCV diaphragm going bad? And is this how soon you should change it or not? So based on just it's literally for 1 second on the cold starts that it makes this whistling sound, I'm going to change the PCV diaphragm. We're going to see if it fixes it. If it does, you should definitely follow this video guide for changing the PCV diaphragm, and do it this soon, because these 5-cylinder motors are sensitive from Volvo, and if your PCV goes bad and you catch it too late or you don't have time to change it, you can blow other seals and have bad oil leaks and possibly need engine repair on the internals. So let's see what happens with this one. So the car's been sitting for about 15 hours. It's kind of cold outside, so this sound should show itself. I'm going to put the tripod close to the engine so that we can possibly hear where it's coming from. Again, it only does this on the first cold start of the day. I'm going to move the camera closer to this area because the PCV box is down here. Hopefully the mic can pick up something from this area. Here's one of the PCV lines, just for reference of area location. But we're going to have the best sound pickup from this area. This is as close as I can get it on a tripod. This is looking down into the oil filter housing. The PCV box is that little hose clamp right behind it. So this is the best place we'll get any sound. Alright guys, so it did not do the whistling sound today. I'm going to check the suction test with my hand. It is fine. It's a little bit weak when you put your hand on the oil cap, but it still pulls in, so it doesn't necessarily need changing. If this sound comes back or becomes a more common thing, I will change the diaphragm and post another one of these kind of videos before. So 2 instances of the whistling sound that sounds like the PCV, based on what people have said, is not a necessary thing to do right now. See, when you fully seal, it pulls in. See, if I don't put pressure on it, it's blowing up. Once there's a full seal, it pulls in. So once there's a full seal, it pulls in. Don't do it with as small of a piece of sticker that I'm doing it with in this video. Do it with something thicker, like a piece of paper if you're checking out a car. The best is a piece of cereal box, and you'll feel it with your hand that it's pulling this light piece of cardboard in. But a piece as small as what I was putting could get sucked in, which you don't want to do. You could also do the more traditional glove test. But the pieces of cardboard have always worked for PCV tests on me, regardless of brand. So again, that small sticker I have, not something you want to do, but in order for it to be visible on camera, I had to use that to show that it has suction inwards on that very light piece of sticker. The sound change when you remove the fill cap on mine is not significant enough to need to change it for now. but we'll keep an eye on this and see if it changes. There is real no sound change at all. Usually when people take this off, it removes a pressure building whistling sound from the engine. Mine is fine. It just has a bit low suction inwards, but that should be fine for now as well. Don't always assume that a little bit of steam coming from your side of the hood when you turn the car on is a coolant leak. If your car's been sitting outside with a big pile of snow on side, it's going to have water going down all of the drains. In my car, where I saw it recently was in an area where you think there would be a coolant leak. Right here against the firewall, there's this plastic drain. So you can just pick it up with your finger. Right when you turn the car on, the exhaust gets hot really fast. So you may see some steam coming from this area of the hood. See where the hood strut is? A little bit of steam coming up the side there. Just pop the hood and flop up the little flapper there, the plastic flapper with your finger, and see if there's some water droplets there. Then you can rule it out being a coolant leak. So it's just water from this dropping onto your exhaust. And your exhaust gets hot really fast right when you turn on the car on this. Here's a cold start from the next day. Let's see if it does it today. Didn't do it today either. Okay, so what's left, hopefully you can see some of the smoke coming from back there. As you can see, my coolant level has dropped just a bit. This smoke I don't think is coming from that little drain there. I think one of my hose clamps might be slightly loose, so I'm going to have to check them all again and retighten. Upon looking a little more carefully, look at the firewall there. It's all wet. That little drain there has brought up moisture. It snowed last night and it just burned off right now at the beginning. My coolant level might have been low just because it's all cycled through finally now, but there are no visible leaks at any of the DO88 hoses. So I'm just going to add a little more coolant, drive the car gently, and I will update you guys on this too. So I think it was water just from that little drain there, from this past snowfall that just burned off. And now that the car's warmed up, there's no more coolant. There should be continued coolant if I had a leak from one of the hose clamps. And there might not even be any coolant loss. That's very insignificant. I might have just not paid attention to what my final level was when I installed the DO88 hoses. So there's the level again. I'm going to add a bit more coolant just past the minimum line, and I will update you guys on whether it drops again or not, or if it even dropped at all. Alright, so I added coolant above the minimum line. I'm going to let the car run a little bit out here on the driveway, and then I'm going to get the revs up in order to see if we get any more steaming coming from the back. I will keep an eye on it when I drive the car, but most likely, again, it was just from that little water drain on the exhaust when the car was cold. For those of you that have more of an eye for detail, all of the coolant fills have been on the incline of my driveway, which has a slight incline, so that slight level drop is something that is in relation to this fill right now here. Again, could have just been the coolant filling up all the other pockets and I never checked perfectly, but This is important, so we'll keep an eye on it and I will update you in the future. Okay, so after idling for a little bit, there is no residue of coolant anywhere, even on that bottom hose there. So I think we're okay, but I'll rev it and we will keep this updated. I clipped the flashlight in so that you guys can see if any smoke starts coming up from back here when I rev it. Engine's up to temp. Let's see if we have any changes. The coolant level seems to be steady. After a longer amount of period of time of driving, I will report back, but I think we're okay. It must have just been the water drain from the snowfall that we had last night, which melted during the day. The water drain in the firewall. No smoke.